Since we were on the topic of how Americans are feeling financial these days, just did a video on an article where 62% of Americans ain't feeling so happy about their financial situation. There was another topic that was trending in the news about how Americans often have higher salaries and more lucrative side hustles compared to the UK due to various factors. I've traveled to the UK, especially recently, quite often. I've been there probably 4 or 5 times in the last couple of years. On a lot of these visits were to hold a business seminar, and I was a speaker on the topic of marketing and building your barbershop business, because that's the niche that I'm in and where I help a lot of business owners thrive. We're expanding to other industries as well. I do believe that, especially in the UK, people can be very successful and build very successful businesses. I don't think that they're that far off to us in the US in terms of the cost of living, the income that could be produced, opportunities that are out there, the price of real estate, the price of running a business. Sure, taxes are more expensive out in the UK, but it's the cost of doing business. But some of the factors of why in the US people tend to make more money is economic metrics, right? They say that there's a higher GDP per capita in the US. Cost of living, higher expenses like healthcare, student loans, and childcare. So it's almost like we have to make more money, but I don't know about that argument because it's relative. It balances out. Sure, we have to spend $200 a month for healthcare insurance, right? For good healthcare insurance, if you're healthy, right? There's other factors to that, but what I've found is that on average, your typical healthy American can get amazing health insurance with no government subsidies for about $200 a month. My family of 4, I pay about $600 a month with no government subsidies. Obviously, that's because I earn a certain income, but if you're not making good income, there's government subsidies that can come in and help. I've been at the bottom, man. I've been where we had government help and we would get Medicare or Medicaid. I forget which one it is. But I've been there for years. That's how we got our health insurance. And when you're in that place, you're not paying as much taxes as somebody in the UK would be. So I don't know if if that's a good argument. I don't think sure Americans might have a higher cost of living, but we pay less taxes than in the UK. So it balances out. Purchasing power or economic productivity. So there's higher productivity and efficiency in US companies. This one I completely agree with. Even though it's not true all over the US, because there's some states that make it a lot more difficult for businesses to thrive, California being one. There's a reason why a lot of companies are leaving California and changing their headquarters to places like Texas, Tennessee, Florida. So I would say it depends on the state that you're in, but yeah, I would say economic productivity, US companies tend to thrive and are more efficient here in the States. And that's why a lot of the world gets its innovation and improvement in quality of life because of companies that do well here in the States. And so those job opportunities that come from that are mostly here in the States. But that does impact the UK. There are companies that thrive here in the States and then expand in the UK. So here's probably the biggest one. Cultural factors. Americans work longer hours, take more risks, and invest more. That's a statistical fact. But when I go to the UK and I talk to business owners, the questions that they ask and the fears that they have and the challenges that they have in their mind, you don't typically get that type of pushback from people here in the States, from business owners in the States. A huge concern for a lot of people in the UK are how much are they going to have to work and what kind of risk, and the mentality is completely different. I do think if I lived in the UK, I would do well because most of my competition is worried about how many hours they got to work, what type of risk they have to take. I do think that culturally, Americans are more willing to take risk and work longer hours, especially if we're going to Europe. The UK and the Europe, their mentality is very similar. And I think that's probably the biggest factor that's mentioned in this article. And then there's economic policies where America runs currencies all over the world. Everything is tagged to the US dollar. And so that definitely has an important factor. But as an American, it sucks going to the UK or to Europe because our dollar is worth less. And all in all, I think the article kind of finishes with there's a perception that Americans earn more and do better. That doesn't mean it's not available to people in the UK. I just think culturally and mindset wise, that's the perception that they have, not necessarily being that it's the truth. Does that make sense? And so in summary, no, Americans, they might earn more, maybe, but they might also face higher living costs and a different quality of life. In that the guys who are earning more and who are increasing the average salary for Americans, for the most part, are busting their asses. And they got a lot of weight on their shoulders. But for me, out of everything in this article, the biggest factor of why there's a perception that Americans earn more is honestly cultural factors. People come to America ready to grind, excited for the opportunity that's ahead of them, the platform that they have. People don't come to America from other countries expecting to work less and just chill. They want an opportunity to live the American dream, right? And if you don't want the American dream, you're probably not coming here. I'm Puerto Rican and Colombian. I can tell you that I have family that wants to live here in the States. And that family, they're ready. They want to grind. They want to start from scratch and build something here. But then I have family who they're happy in Puerto Rico, chilling, living an easy life. And although they don't have luxuries and they don't have as much as my family here in the States, they're complacent. They're happy with what they do have. And they see the glass half full with their situation. They wouldn't trade it for the world. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if you come to the States, that's the culture. You know it's going to be different. So that's what I got from this article, man. That doesn't mean that you can't take this mindset and this culture and what you learn from this culture and bring it to the UK and not thrive. Of course you can. And that's why I believe anyone could be successful in the UK. You just got to change your mindset and you got to be around the right culture. Your circle got to be different. So when I do these classes here at these shows and there's people that are attracted to the business strategy and all that, I'm assuming it's people with the right mindset. But a lot of times it's not. A lot of times it's people who still have that mindset that just want to see how I think and what I'm teaching. And a lot of times their arguments will be based on their perception and their mindset, not based on facts and reality. But if you take the strategies that I teach, the business strategies that I teach, it will work in the UK. And so the first part of the business strategies that I teach is actually telling my students who come in, listen, whatever ideas and mindset you have currently, have an open mind, drop your ego, because ego is the main thing. Drop that shit, try something different, change your mindset, and then the business strategies will work. even in the UK. Good luck, guys.